The Galactic Empire's latest conquest had brought them to the fringes of the Orion Arm, where a small, seemingly insignificant planet known as Earth lay waiting. Commander Xyler watched from the bridge of his battleship, his multifaceted eyes narrowing as reports came in. Resistance had been fiercer than expected. Primitive, yes, but resourceful. He sneered. Such defiance was a mere annoyance. These humans, with their rudimentary technology and fragile forms, posed no real threat to the Empire's expansion. The report that intrigued him most was of a lone human soldier captured after engaging a patrol squad. Xyler's tentacle-like digits skimmed the glowing datapad. He fought off 12 of my men before succumbing, one officer had written, tinged with embarrassment. Unusual. Humans were known for their resilience, but this level of skill suggested something more. Xyler's curiosity was piqued, though not enough to consider the creature a serious concern. He gave the order to bring the captive aboard for interrogation. 2 guards escorted the human into the chamber, each towering over their prisoner. The soldier stood just under 2 meters tall, his muscular frame dwarfed by the armored aliens flanking him. His hands were bound in shimmering restraints, and his eyes, a piercing, unsettling blue, surveyed the room with measured calculation. Xyler noted the soldier's composure, even under such circumstances. Most humans would have been trembling by now. Name, Xyler demanded, his voice a guttural hiss. The human tilted his head slightly, as though pondering the question. Master Chief Ethan Kane, he said, his tone clipped and precise. His voice carried none of the desperation Xyler had expected, only a quiet authority. You will address me as Commander Xyler, the alien snapped, his ego bruised by the human's audacity. You are aboard the battleship Dominance. Your cooperation will determine how long you survive. Kane smirked faintly. Not much of a salesman, are you? Xyler's patience thinned. He leaned closer, his segmented face a mosaic of irritation. Your planet is defenseless. Your armies are scattered. Tell me of Earth's military capabilities, and perhaps your end will be swift. Kane met his gaze unflinchingly. Earth's military capabilities? Let's see. We've got kitchen knives, baseball bats, and a mean right hook. What else do you need to know? The guards exchanged glances, uncertain whether to interpret this as ignorance or insolence. Xyler, however, saw something deeper in the soldier's deflection. He recognized the signs of a trained operative, someone who understood the art of deception. Yet he dismissed the thought. What could one human possibly achieve against the might of the Empire? You mock us, human, but your bravado is wasted. Pain has a way of extracting truth. Xyler gestured, and a beam of harsh light illuminated Kane's face. A device descended from the ceiling, its needle-like appendages buzzing ominously. Kane remained still, his breathing calm. His SEAL training had prepared him for moments like this. He'd been hardened through years of grueling exercises, subjected to conditions that broke lesser men. He knew how to endure, how to play the long game. You've got all this fancy tech, Kane said, nodding toward the device. But no one taught you the basics of negotiation? Hate to say it, Xyler, but your methods are a little amateur. Xyler's mandibles clicked in irritation. He activated the device, which began to emit a low-frequency hum designed to disrupt neural pathways. A lesser being would have crumpled immediately, but Kane only clenched his jaw. The pain was intense, like needles threading through his skull, but he channeled it, compartmentalized it. You're remarkably resilient, Xyler said, a grudging note of admiration creeping into his voice. Perhaps there's more to your species than meets the eye, but resilience won't save you. Tell me about Earth's defenses. Kane exhaled slowly, letting the pain ebb just enough for him to focus. You want to know about Earth's defenses? Fine. We've got billions of us, and we don't quit. Doesn't matter how advanced you think you are. You'll never break us. Xyler snorted. Your defiance is commendable, if futile. The Empire has conquered species far more formidable than yours. That's so, Kane said, his tone almost conversational. Let me ask you something, Xyler. Ever fight a predator that doesn't stop, even when it's bleeding out? Ever face an enemy that turns every disadvantage into an opportunity? Xyler hesitated, momentarily caught off guard by the intensity in Kane's voice. "That's humanity," Kane continued, his words deliberate. "You think we're weak because we're smaller, because our technology isn't as shiny. But you don't understand what it means to be human. To adapt. To endure." For a moment, the room fell silent, the hum of the device fading into the background. Zyler felt an unfamiliar sensation creeping into his consciousness. Unease. The human's calm, unwavering confidence was unsettling. Kane glanced at the restraints around his wrists. They were designed to suppress any attempt at resistance, but he'd already identified their weak points. His mind worked methodically, cataloging every detail of the room. The placement of the guards, the distance to the exit, the alien weaponry mounted on the walls. "I tire of your games," Zyler said, breaking the silence. He gestured to the guards. "Take him back to the holding cell. We'll continue this interrogation when he's more pliable." The guards moved to comply, but Kane smiled faintly. "Thanks for the hospitality," he said as they grabbed his arms. "I'll be sure to leave a review." As they escorted him out, Zyler couldn't shake the nagging feeling that he'd underestimated this human. But he dismissed it as paranoia. One soldier, no matter how resilient, couldn't possibly pose a threat to the Galactic Empire. In the corridor outside, Kane allowed himself a small, private grin. He'd seen enough to formulate a plan. The Empire had no idea who they were dealing with, and they wouldn't know until it was far too late. The air in the holding cell was cold and sterile, but Ethan Kane hardly noticed. His mind was elsewhere, running calculations and devising contingencies. The Galactic Empire had made a mistake, a critical, arrogant mistake. They saw him as just another human, a primitive specimen to prod and study. They had no idea that they had imprisoned a Navy SEAL, trained to survive and dominate in conditions far worse than this. He flexed his wrists against the restraints, feeling the faint hum of energy binding his movements. The aliens thought their technology was infallible, but Kane had already spotted a vulnerability during his interrogation. He needed to bide his time, let the guards relax into their routine. Patience was a weapon, one he wielded with precision. The sound of approaching footsteps broke the silence, echoing sharply off the metallic walls. Two guards, the same ones who had dragged him from the interrogation room, stepped into view. They barked an order in their guttural language, motioning for him to rise. Kane complied, his expression blank. He knew better than to resist openly. Not yet. They led him through a labyrinth of corridors, the ship's design alien, yet oddly systematic. Kane memorized every twist and turn, every security checkpoint and surveillance node. Information was ammunition, and he was stockpiling it. The guard stopped before a wide door that slid open with a hiss, revealing what appeared to be a holding bay. Inside, several other prisoners, a mix of alien species, were shackled to the walls. Some looked resigned, others terrified. Kane's sharp eyes scanned the room, noting the positions of the guards, the layout of the consoles, and the presence of a single overhead vent. Escape wouldn't be easy, but it was possible. One of the guards shoved him toward an empty restraint station, growling something that needed no translation. Kane stumbled forward but recovered quickly, his movements deliberate. As the guard secured his arms and legs, he subtly shifted his posture to test the mechanisms. The energy cuffs locked into place with a satisfying click, and the guards stepped back, confident their prisoner was contained. But they didn't notice the faint, almost imperceptible shimmer of Kane's left wristband. The device hidden there, a piece of Earth's most advanced covert tech, activated silently, disrupting the frequency of the restraints. It was a calculated risk to use it now, but Kane had decided the time for waiting was over. As the guards turned to leave, Kane struck. With a sharp twist of his wrists, the cuffs shattered in a burst of sparks. Before the guards could react, he lunged forward, delivering a brutal elbow strike to the nearest one. The alien crumpled, its weapon clattering to the floor. Kane scooped it up in one fluid motion, spinning to face the second guard. The remaining alien raised its blaster, but Kane was faster. A single shot from the stolen weapon hit its mark, sending the guard sprawling. The room erupted into chaos as the other prisoners shouted and scrambled, unsure whether to cheer or cower. Kane ignored them, his focus razor-sharp. He moved quickly, disabling the security cameras with precise shots before turning to the control console. His fingers danced over the alien interface, deciphering its functions with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to adapting in the field. The ship's schematics flashed on the screen, and he committed them to memory. The other prisoners stared at him, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. One, a wiry alien with emerald skin, finally spoke. "Oh, who are you?" Kane didn't look up. "Just a guy who doesn't like cages." With a final keystroke, he unlocked the restraints holding the other prisoners. Chains and energy cuffs fell to the floor, and a ripple of hesitant freedom spread through the room. Kane grabbed a second weapon from one of the fallen guards and tossed it to the emerald-skinned alien. "You want to get out of here?" he said, his voice calm but commanding. "Follow me. Stay quiet, stay sharp, and don't slow me down." The alien nodded, clutching the weapon tightly. A few of the others hesitated, but ultimately fell in line, drawn to Kane's undeniable authority. He led them through the holding bay, his steps swift and purposeful. Every movement, every decision was calculated, honed by years of training. They encountered resistance almost immediately, 3 more guards patrolling the adjacent corridor. Kane dropped into a low crouch, motioning for the others to stay back. With surgical precision, he neutralized the aliens, his stolen blaster firing in quick, controlled bursts. As they advanced, Kane's mind raced. He'd seen enough of the ship's layout to know where the critical systems were located. If he could disable the battleship's propulsion or weaponry, it would buy Earth valuable time. But first he had to reach the escape pods. The group rounded a corner and found themselves facing a large security checkpoint. The guards stationed there were better armed, their post fortified. Kane assessed the situation, his gaze flicking to a ventilation grate overhead. He turned to the emerald-skinned alien. "Can you use that thing?" he asked, nodding toward the weapon in its hands. The alien hesitated, then nodded. "I can try." "Good. Cover me." Without waiting for a response, Kane scaled the wall and slipped into the vent. The confined space was a tight fit, but he moved with practiced efficiency, his body a blur of controlled strength. Below, the alien opened fire, drawing the guards' attention. Kane emerged from the vent behind the checkpoint, landing silently. He dispatched the guards with brutal efficiency, his strikes precise and unrelenting. Within moments, the area was secure. He motioned for the others to join him, and they hurried through the now unlocked door. Beyond it lay the escape pod bay, a row of sleek, alien crafts designed for emergency evacuations. Kane's heart pounded as he ushered the group inside. He'd done the impossible, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Galactic Empire would come after him, after Earth, with everything they had. As the escape pod launched into the void, Kane allowed himself a single, grim smile. They had underestimated him, underestimated humanity. That mistake would cost them dearly. The escape pod hurtled through the void, its automated systems humming with alien efficiency. Ethan Kane leaned against the interior bulkhead, his sharp eyes fixed on the navigation display. Behind him, the liberated prisoners huddled together, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and cautious hope. The pod's trajectory pointed toward a remote asteroid belt, a region the Galactic Empire avoided due to its dense debris and electromagnetic interference. It wasn't safety, but it was a start. Kane activated the pod's communication system, bypassing its alien encryption protocols with a small device hidden in his belt. He patched into an encrypted Earth frequency, one of the many contingencies drilled into his team before deployment. "This is Master Chief Ethan Kane," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Transmitting on priority channel Theta 7. Message is critical. The Galactic Empire has initiated plans for a full-scale invasion. Coordinates and schematics of their flagship follow. Prepare for immediate retaliation." Static crackled in response, and for a moment, he thought the signal wouldn't make it through. Then came the voice, clipped and professional. "Master Chief Kane, this is Earth Command. Message received. Hold position for extraction." Kane allowed himself a brief exhale. The signal had gotten through. Now it was up to Earth's defenses to act. He turned to the other passengers, his expression hardening. "We'll be rendezvousing with Earth forces soon," he said. "Until then, stay alert. The Empire won't let us go easily." As if on cue, the pod's proximity alarm blared. Kane spun toward the display, where a trio of Empire fighters appeared on the radar. They had tracked the escape pod and their weapon systems were charging. "Buckle in," Kane barked, strapping himself into the pilot's seat. The prisoners scrambled to secure themselves as the pod shuddered under a barrage of plasma fire. Kane's hands moved instinctively over the controls, coaxing the sluggish craft into evasive maneuvers. The fighters closed in, their sleek forms outmatching the pod's clunky design. Kane gritted his teeth, his mind racing. He couldn't outrun them, but he didn't need to. The asteroid belt loomed ahead, its chaotic fields of rock and ice promising a deadly obstacle course. "Hold tight," he warned, plunging the pod into the belt. Massive chunks of debris tumbled through the void, illuminated by the flashes of enemy fire. Kane navigated with surgical precision, using the asteroids as cover. The fighters followed, their pilot struggling to keep pace. One fighter clipped an asteroid and erupted in a brilliant explosion. Kane didn't flinch. His focus remained unshaken as he twisted the pod through narrow gaps and spiraling debris fields. Another fighter fell, its engines shredded by a rogue shard of ice. The final fighter broke off pursuit, retreating into the vastness of space. Kane steadied the pod, his breathing even. The alarm faded, leaving only the hum of the engines and the heavy silence of relief. "That was impossible," the emerald-skinned alien whispered, staring at Kane with wide eyes. "Not impossible," Kane replied, his voice cold and calm. "Just training." Minutes later, another blip appeared on the radar, but this time it wasn't hostile. A sleek Earth Alliance frigate emerged from hyperspace, its hull gleaming with reinforced alloys. Kane's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Extraction team's here," he said. The frigate docked with the pod, and the group was quickly ushered aboard. Kane was greeted by Captain Elena Voss, a sharp-eyed officer with a commanding presence. "Master Chief," she said, offering a curt nod. "We've received your intel. The fleet's mobilizing, but we'll need more than schematics to counter their invasion." "You'll get it," Kane replied. "I know their weak points now. Just get me close enough to hit them where it hurts." Voss studied him for a moment before nodding again. "We've prepared a strike team. You'll have full operational control." Hours later, Kane found himself aboard a covert assault vessel, flanked by a hand-picked team of Earth's best operatives. Each one was equipped with cutting-edge gear designed for interstellar warfare. Kane briefed them quickly, outlining the mission. Infiltrate the Galactic flagship and disable its primary weapon, a superlaser capable of obliterating entire planets. The assault vessel approached the flagship under the cover of a solar storm, slipping past its defenses. Kane and his team breached the ship's hull using magnetic grapplers, their movements precise and silent. Inside, the corridors were eerily similar to the ones Kane had navigated before. This time, though, he wasn't alone. The team moved with lethal efficiency, taking down guards and sabotaging systems without raising an alarm. They reached the superlaser control room, a sprawling chamber filled with pulsating conduits and alien consoles. "Set the charges," Kane ordered, his voice low but firm. As his team worked, the chamber's doors slid open, and Commander Zyler entered, flanked by a squad of elite soldiers. His multifaceted eyes locked onto Kane, a flicker of recognition sparking within them. "You," Zyler hissed, his mandibles clicking in fury. "You are more persistent than I anticipated. And you're as predictable as I thought," Kane shot back, raising his weapon. The room erupted into chaos. Kane's team engaged the soldiers, their precision and training outmatching the Empire's forces. Kane himself faced Zyler, their clash brutal and unrelenting. Zyler's strength was formidable, his alien physiology giving him an edge in raw power. But Kane's training and adaptability turned every blow into an opportunity. He exploited Zyler's overconfidence, landing a series of devastating strikes. As Zyler faltered, Kane grabbed him by the throat, his voice a low growl. "This is for Earth. With a final, bone-crushing motion, he slammed Xyler into the console, disabling the super laser. The charges were set, and Kane's team retreated, their path marked by explosions that crippled the flagship. Back aboard the assault vessel, Kane watched as the galactic battleship erupted in a chain reaction of fire and debris. The Empire's invasion plans had been shattered, their arrogance their undoing. As the vessel sped toward Earth, Kane allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The fight was far from over, but humanity had sent a clear message. They would not be conquered. Ethan Kane's expression hardened. The Galactic Empire had underestimated him, underestimated humanity. They wouldn't make that mistake again, but by then it wouldn't matter. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win.